Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is Jon Wolfgang, and this is the very first edition of Ringside, where we are going to bring you in-depth interviews with the very best professional wrestlers in the world today. And standing right next to me, I have the Awf Heavyweight Champion, Dom the Bomb Vitalli. Dom, thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thanks, John. So,
I want to talk real quick about everything that's happened since you've come back to the AWF. You're no stranger to the AWF, of course. You've wrestled here before, most notably with Gabriel Gallo as the Keepers of the Faith. But recently, as of April 2017, you had been on a brief hiatus and you came back. Although you had been very, vitriolic towards fans in the past, they embraced you, it seemed like, as you teamed with SBR against Genesis. And I want to just go back in time and get your thoughts about that match when you came back to the AWF. What were your feelings?
You know, I've been gone a long time, John, and everyone knew who I was and what I've done, not only here in AWF, but elsewhere. And I never once said I was going to come back and wanted people to like me or cheer me or anything like that. That never mattered to me. I came back because it was time for me to come back. I came back because I was what AWF needed to get to the next level. Because let's be honest here, things got a little stagnant while I was gone. Things got a little boring. And once Don Vitalli walks back in the door, it's no surprise that people start to, get their interest back in what's going on in the AWF. So for me to sit here and tell you that I gave a crap about what the fans thought of me, whether it's cheered or booed, that was never a factor. I came out of that curtain being me. I always come out of that curtain being me. What their reaction is means nothing to me. I have one job: go in the ring and get the job done, beat people up. And I do that very, very well, regardless of what any fan thinks of me.
Well, I understand that, Dom, and I understand that you're a very bold personality. You say exactly what's on your mind. But when you had come back, you seemed to embrace the fans. You seemed to appreciate their adoration and their appreciation towards you. It seemed like you weren't honest about that from the very beginning, Dom.
You see, no, I never cared from day one. It's not my fault that we have a bunch of suckers that come to these shows and sit around ringside and think they know what it is that I or anyone else in that locker room does. Once I came back and I heard their reaction to me, I knew right then and there I could use each and every single one of them for my advantage. I could use each of them to get whatever I wanted. And it just so happened that I felt like owning the AWF heavyweight title. And I did whatever it took. I went around any path, I took any shortcut, and I'm very proud to say that. Because not only do I work hard, I work smart. And it's not my fault that I'm a better wrestler than everyone. It's not my fault that I'm smarter than everyone. And it's not my fault that people care about what Don Vitalli does, good or bad.
Fair enough. But I also want to talk about what you said, the wrestlers backstage in the locker room, that you didn't care about what they think. You took the time to call the AWF Heavyweight Championship basically invalid. It didn't mean a whole lot at the time.
No, that's the thing, John. It doesn't mean anything still. It only means something because I make it mean something. I could leave that title in my closet and it would mean nothing. But once this title belt sits on my shoulder or is strapped around my waist, instantaneously, this has value. This belt is nothing without me. This belt has never been anything without me. This belt, this organization should be on their hands and knees thanking me for what I've done, not only for this title, but for this federation.
But see, Dom, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Let me just give you a list of former AWF heavyweight champions and go ahead and associate them with one word. I'll give you a list right now.
Lay it on me.
Danny G.
Soft.
Awesome Andy.
Forgettable.
Ulrich Reiner.
Who?
R3.
Ha! Joke.
Gabriel Gallo.
Loser.
Joe Graves.
Now there's a name that's interesting. Joe Graves is a killer. I'm no fool. Like I said, I'm the smartest man in the AWF, by far. And I know that Joe Graves is capable of some very, very dangerous things. However, he listened too much to what each and every person around that ringside area had to say. He worried too much about what they thought of him. And then what happened? One of the shortest reigns as a heavyweight champion here at AWF, and that is no mistake. That is why I don't make mistakes like that. That's why I do not care what anybody thinks of Don Vitalli. That's why I still hold this. That's why I have the most valuable heavyweight title reign in the history of the AWF.
Last name, Mike Camden.
Mike Camden. Mike Camden, former heavyweight champion here, right?
Yes.
What has he done? What did he do when he was champion? If you ask anyone, they'll sit there and they'll scratch their head and they'll think and they'll ponder and they'll say, hey, you know what? I don't remember what Mike Camden does because Mike Camden is also forgettable. Mike Camden is just one of the other guys. He's a plain Jane. There's nothing special about Mike Camden. He doesn't stand out. No one remembers what he does or what he says. Don Vitalli, everything I do, everything I say, every move that I make means something. That is why people are glued to their television screen. That's why they're glued to their telephone screen. That's why they're glued to their seat with their jaws wide open, watching me do what I do in this ring, watching me do what they only wish they could do. They can sit there and they can badmouth me, they can shit talk me, they can do whatever they want, but when it's all said and done, I'm the one that stands in this ring, top of the mountain. I'm the one that has 2 title belts on my shoulder. I'm the one that stands in the place that they only wish they could stand.
I hear you, but I'm having a hard time piecing together what you're saying because the last couple matches we've seen you in, Dom, triple threat against R3 and Evan Daniels, singles matches against R3 and Evan Daniels, Sin Bodhi, all these different competitors that you faced and defended successfully the AWF Heavyweight Championship, none of those have been, how would I put it, clean victories, decisive victories, honorable victories. What do you have to say about your critics who say that you can't beat someone just mano a mano, man to man, without interference like campaign or underhanded tactics?
There is a very wise man that once stepped through the ropes of a wrestling ring, and his name was Kevin Nash. And Kevin Nash once said, it's not the wrestling friendsness, it's the wrestling business. And I treat this like a business. I don't care who you are, I don't care what our relationship in the past was or what it is presently. My job is to defend this title and that title and keep it around my waist at any cost. I don't care what it takes. If you want to call it cheating, if you want to call it underhanded tactics, if you want to call it outnumbering others, it doesn't matter. It is not my fault that I am better than everyone else. It is not my fault that I am smarter than everyone else. Anybody else in the AWF or elsewhere could have easily gone out and gotten themselves an insurance policy like Capaign. But none of them did. I did because I'm a forward thinker, John. I think ahead. I don't just think till tomorrow. I'm looking weeks, months, years down the line. What's next for Don Vitalli? And I'll tell you what's next, John. This will be in my possession for the very, very long haul. Because I have plans, John. I have plans to make not only these title belts mean even more than they mean right now. I have plans for me and Capaign to mean more than anything or anyone ever has that has come out of the Arizona Wrestling Federation.
a week from now, you're going to face off in a 6-man tag team match at AWF Live. 3 of those former heavyweight champions I mentioned, R3, Gabriel Gallo, Joe Graves, facing you, Capane, Alexander Hammerstone. After that, you're going to face off against Mike Camden, defending the heavyweight championship. How are you going to overcome all these former champions?
How am I going to overcome all these former champions? Just like I already do. I come into every match fully prepared. Not only for what goes on in the ring. I think of every single little nuance that could potentially cost me either one of these titles. Every single time. Again, forward thinker, John. While all these other guys are wrestling off of emotion, I wrestle from here. I think, not only when I'm in the ring, but outside of it. And you can line up Gallo, you can line up R3, you can line up the killer Joe Graves himself, hell, and if you want, go ahead and line up Mike Camden too, because it doesn't matter. I've never been afraid of any of them. All of them know that they're not as good as me, and all of them want one thing, and that's to sit where I sit. That's to be who I am. That's to hold what I hold. And they can sit there and they can dream, and they can imagine all they want, but we're talking reality here, John. And the reality of the situation is, I do what I want, when I want. I dictate my future. I dictate my life, not only in the wrestling ring, not only when it's combative, outside the ring, real life, John. I dictate every single little thing that happens to me. And that's why my life is so good and everyone else's is just not as great as mine.
All right, Dom, I also want to ask you about Mike Camden. Are you at all worried about him and your upcoming match against him? And also, while you're focused on Mike Camden, you do know that you have Gabriel Gallo always lurking in the back, right?
Here's the thing about Mike Camden. And if you would allow me, I'm going to talk directly to you, Mike Camden. I'm no sucker. I get what you're all about. I get that you're a little upset that your title reign was cut a little bit short. But make no mistake about it, Mike Camden. You're just extra fodder for me. You're that white noise. Because it doesn't matter if it's you, it doesn't matter if it's R3, Evan Daniels, whoever. You're all gonna go down one after another after another. And Gabriel Gallo, if you think for 1 minute that you were gonna get your hands on me, you are living in a fantasy world. Time after time after time, I gotta beat it into your thick, stupid skull to remind you that you will never get your hands on me. You will never get your hands back on that AWF heavyweight title. You have to understand, you have to come to grips with reality, Gallo. We're done. We're through. No more you riding my coattails. No more you having me fight your battles for you. No more me carrying the load like I did for years. So be gone. Nobody wants to see you anymore. You're brittle, you're fragile, you're broken. Don't come back unless you want to be shattered for good.
Dom Vitalli, AWF Heavyweight Champion, one half of the AWF Tag Team Champions. We'll see you at AWF Live and AWF Showdown.